Hello, friends. I'm your host, Dave Layton, and welcome to Signs of Our Time, discovering America's heritage one sign at a time. This podcast is designed to provide the story behind the story found on America's roadside historical signs. Today, I'm visiting with a new friend, Bradford Smith. I'm going to call you Brad. Is that all right?
You bet, Dave.
All right. Well, Brad is the president of Sewah Studios. You might never have heard of Sewah Studios, but you know about them quite well. You see evidence of them where you live, where you travel, no matter where you go in the United States, and probably in a few other places, you're going to see the evidence of them. So I'm going to let Brad explain that and talk about. So hello, Brad.
Hey, Dave, how are you doing? Thanks for having me this morning, and I'm looking forward to having a discussion about my life, historical markers.
All right. Well, let's begin by telling the audience just a little bit about yourself, and then let's talk about Sewah Studios.
Sure, sure. Again, welcome. Sewah Studios is the premier manufacturer of cast aluminum historical markers in the United States. We currently have around 44 states on contract that are actively manufacturing site markers throughout the country. We also have a large segment of our business are non-state sponsored markers that are more down to the city, county, or local level. So our customer base delivers around 14 to 1,500 markers a year. So we stay very busy with that.
Wow.
Yes, sir. So we basically have just under 30 employees, 5 days a week. We're trying to get somewhere to 7 to 8 markers out a day.
Okay.
And so you can kind of do the math. You can figure out 1,500 markers. That's about 1,500 markers is about the max that demand comes from the United States. However, coming up in 2027, we have our 250-year anniversary. So
That's
we're
right.
anticipating and already seeing an uptick in volume. So we just completed an expansion of the facility. It's a $500,000 expansion. It took over a year and a half. We're in the final stages of completing that. What that afforded us is the ability to cast 3 additional markers per day. So we wanted that headroom. After COVID, we kind of were operating at full capacity, and there were so many orders coming in that were delayed from the COVID years that we created this backlog that we're slowly working through. So business has been great. It's been a great past couple of years. We look for the 2027 celebration to also just be another banner year.
Oh, wow. That's great. 2027, that's not too far off.
It's
That will
amazing.
actually be the 50th anniversary of this mission group that I belong to called
Oh,
Sojourners. And I've already got it bouncing in my head. We need a historical
I
marker.
I was just going to recommend that, and I know where to get one.
You might know somebody can help me out. Yeah, I've already bounced that idea off of a couple of my folks, and it's like, why didn't we think of that earlier? So,
Yeah, no, that's great.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
actually, Seawall celebrates a birthday or an anniversary as well. Next year we turn, or excuse me, in the same year as the country 2027, we basically excuse me, the United States is 2026. Seawall turns 100 in 2027. That's why I always get
Okay.
those confused. So we have
Yeah.
2 big anniversaries, one for the great country on July 4th of 2026. And then the whole year of 2027, Seawall Studios will be celebrating our 100 years of existence.
Now, I want to ask you some questions about the company.
Sure. Yeah.
Where are you located?
We're located in Marietta, Ohio, which is on exit 1 on Route 77. I always tell people if you look at Ohio, we're in the bottom right corner where there is no big,
Okay.
one of the C's. We're not Cleveland, we're not Cincy, and we're not Columbus or Toledo. We're the other corner.
Okay. Close enough to get to where you need to
We,
be, but it's kind of nice being away from some of that.
we
So,
actually are on the Ohio River, and West Virginia is our bordering state. So half of
okay.
our employees are West Virginia. So we kind of share dual state, I guess, recognition.
Well, I can see where the Barnwood Builders
Yeah.
would have been interested in you. We were talking before the show that I found out about you, but through the Barnwood Builders television show, and it's fascinating.
Great.
It was one of my favorite episodes.
It
Well,
was
you
it was
said
fun
you're
to
coming
shoot.
up on, I'm sorry.
It was fun to shoot. They were a good group
Oh,
of
well,
guys.
yeah. That's a great group of guys. They
Yeah.
they have to be a lot of fun. All right. So you said you're coming up in 2027 on your 100th. Okay. So
That
you've
is
been
correct.
in, so 1937, is that when the company,
1927 is when
27, 27.
Mr. Hawes, Edward Hawes, formed the company, and he saw a need for historical marker landmarks, in the community. At the time, in the 20s, there weren't many
Yeah.
markers being manufactured. They were coming out of the prison system sponsored through the states. They were
Oh,
iron markers, and there were only a few states that were participating. Arkansas is where I've seen some. I'm from Arkansas. Seen a couple that are still in existence today, downtown Little Rock. Excuse me. Virginia has quite a few that are still in existence in Kentucky, and I'm sure they're all over the country. Those are just the ones that I know of. But Mr. Hawes was really he was a cartographer. And cartography is map making, but it comes with a little bit of a slant where he puts kind of narrative that are more personalized to his experiences. So we have these maps that Sewall generated in the 20s before the marker business that you can find here and there. I know Gallipolis, Ohio, Marietta, and there's a couple others that are these beautiful maps that as you look at them, they have these little stories that were personalized to his experiences. So they're fun to see every now and then.
wow. I'm going to be looking for
Yeah.
a Mr. Claus map. And
Yeah.
that brings me to the next question. How in the world did they come up with the name Siwa? And you just alluded to it. So tell us that story,
Yeah,
please.
that's correct. So Mr. Hawes, very creative man, decided to just flip his name, Hawes Sewall. So if you just turn it around, it's Hawes Sewah, and it's stuck. My grandfather bought it in the 50s and decided no reason to change it. Everybody thinks that it's Indian heritage or, something from an Indian, kind of a Native
Yeah.
American draw to it, but it's as simple as flipping a name.
Okay. I want to add a little something to it. I don't know if you're aware of it or not. When I was researching a little bit about the company, I typed in Siwa, and it turns out you mentioned the word Indian. It is an Indian word spelled a little different, but if you were in the nation of India and you said Siwa, it actually means selfless service.
Wow.
Isn't that
That's
great?
new to me. I'll have to start using that.
Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
also means
I love that. I
I
love
thought
that.
that was great because you guys do a service. I know you're in business, you have to make a profit, sure, but you're
Sure.
doing a great service for so many of us, and it's
Thank you.
it's a lot of fun. Um, I don't remember the town. A couple of weeks ago, I
Marietta,
was
Ohio.
well, no, yeah, I was driving across North Texas
Okay.
a couple of weeks ago, and there out in the middle of nowhere on the road was a historical marker, and it talked about that particular location had been a big timber industry and all this kind of stuff, burrows or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, you see these markers everywhere.
They're
There,
everywhere.
there's even one that you manufactured outside my neighborhood that I'd pass by all the time. It's one of the Blue Star Memorial
Oh,
uh,
great. Yeah.
markers. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Uh,
Blue Star is a neat program. It's
yeah.
probably the best representation of our product nationwide. It's probably one of our oldest marker programs as well. The Garden Clubs of America wanted to honor the soldiers throughout all the wars. So
Yes.
their initiative has been to either clean up properties or where you see them in most places and on interstate rest areas is probably where you'll see most
Yep.
of the Blue Star Memorial
Yes.
highways recognized.
Uh, th- uh, I,
Wonderful
I've
program.
I've made in my mind, I'm going when I get home, I'm going to go out there to that marker and clean it up. It's kind of gotten some road grime and things like that on it. So
Well,
I'm going to,
I love that you're going to go clean it up, and I would encourage people to. There is a marker cleaning day in the end of April, and it's sponsored by William G. Pomeroy Foundation. What the
okay.
foundation has done is they have partnered with other states and really trying to get this initiative across that these markers need to be paid attention to and cleaned up. So the
Yeah.
last Friday in April, nationwide is Marker Appreciation Day. They have a wonderful website that will tell you the instructions, well, all the things you need to prepare, and just some super ideas. And this actually, I think, is the fifth year. I thought I had some brochure available. I'll try to find that. But anyway, from their website, National Historic Marker Day, the last Friday in April. So go check out their website. And we really encourage people to take care of the markers and clean them once or twice a year because of all of the road grime and just the things that get collected on this. If they're
Yeah.
not taken off the marker, it's eventually going to wear down
Yeah.
on the finish. So you could improve the life expectancy of these markers just by cleaning them one time a year. You could add 20 years to its life expectancy
I,
in the
uh,
finish.
I'm going to personally adopt that marker. That,
Perfect. Perfect.
yeah.
Make sure you go to the website and on the April last Friday in April that you take a picture and send it in and they'll feature you on their website and give you credit
Okay.
for that. It's
Love
wonderful.
it. Well, that ties in with what the podcast is about. It's about historical markers and bringing attention to them and the story behind the story.
Absolutely.
By the way, I do have the Blue Star folks are going to be guests on the podcast in the future.
Oh,
We're
great.
yeah, we're working out that schedule. Um, and JJ Pratt's has been a guest
Uh-huh.
with the historical marker database.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So okay. So you, you mentioned it, but I want to make sure you do historical markers. Most of them, if I understand, cast aluminum. But are there other kinds of markers that you make?
Sewah Studios specifically manufactures cast aluminum roadside
Okay.
markers. We have kept our eye on the ball for 98 years. We have not deviated the path. And it has been probably the best decision we could have ever. I think that's why we're still around today is because we've centered in on the handcrafted
Hmm.
workmanship and all the materials and processes date back to the 100 years.
Yeah.
So I just think by sticking to the core operation and not computerizing or going to CNC routers or bringing technology in has kind of helped us capture the nostalgia and the whole niche of what we're doing here, which is
Yeah.
handcrafting one of a kind works of art. And one of a kind, I mean, they are hand typeset. If we were to do the identical marker 10 different times, it would have random nuances built in just from the hand craftsmanship, and there would be
Yeah.
a little bit difference in every single one. So they
Yeah.
truly are unique, one of a kind works of art.
That just makes sense
Yeah.
that you would do that, and you obviously are successful because if I'm not mistaken, most of the historical markers we see out there on the highways and stuff are produced by Sewah Studios,
That's correct.
and so others recognize not only the craftsmanship but the artistic part of it that really makes it special. And I'm not just
Thank you.
throwing that out there. It's amazing to me.
It
Um,
truly is an amazing American-made product
Thank you
that
for saying that. I was going to say it's an American company through and through.
absolutely. And we're very proud of that.
Yeah,
And, we do no advertising, zero, absolutely no advertising. And that's not because we don't have a budget or we don't think it's important. We really don't need to. All we need to do is make sure that we maintain the same integrity and quality of the product and try to have the best customer satisfaction throughout the delivery and even after the delivery of the marker. So we know that when people have issues or that they just want to praise and recognize us, we always want to be available to that because this historical marker industry that we've created and developed, it's bigger than us. It's bigger than me. It'll go on for decades longer as long as we keep
Good.
our eye on that ball, I think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. I went to your website, and I'm going to put the information about your website in the
Oh,
show
perfect.
notes, but I went to the website and you've got a wonderful sample of, of historical markers out
Thank you.
there that it's not a one size fits all. You do customize it. There are some multiple choices that somebody can use for a style and
That's
colors,
correct.
whatever, you know. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
was
almost like
great.
designing, it's almost like a car in aspect to where you can't just, we're not Chevy to where you go pick a model and a color like that. It's kind of like that, but there's so many enhancements you can do. I mean, technology has afforded the ability for us to do QR coding on it. And QR coding is
Okay.
wonderful when you put it on the plate because it gives the marker program the ability to share more behind what's behind the marker or connect multiple stories or sites to a larger repository of information that could be connected either
Yeah.
to the sponsoring organization or what does that particular marker mean at that site with the other ones that are around it. And there's been so many programs that have utilized that new technology to help open up the more broader story of what's really going behind 200 words or less on that one panel they're looking at.
So, okay, you just made a statement there, 200 words or less. I mean, obviously, physical size of these things is a limiting factor, but
Correct.
okay, okay. I want to throw you a left curveball
Sure.
question here.
Yeah,
Nothing weird, but
sure.
well, actually, it might be weird. What is the strangest or most unique sign that you can recall that you guys have made?
Yeah, I think the one that just always jumps out when people ask that question is there were some divers in Michigan that wanted to mark a diving site in, I believe it was Lake Michigan. It was either Michigan or Erie. So we cast this marker through the partnership of the Michigan Historical Society, and they mounted this thing like 150 feet deep in the bottom of the lake.
Oh, wow.
So they dive down to it. And then they go down there and they take their pictures of a Michigan historical marker that's mounted on the bottom of the lake. So
That's
that's a
great
pretty,
because I want to do a segment in sometime in the future about the most remote marker. That one is probably going to
that may
qualify.
be it. That may be it.
That's
There's some other ones that are in foreign countries that are
okay.
neat. We do have one at, I believe it is on the beach of Normandy that
Oh,
it's in both languages, right? So, families can go and read either
yeah.
side. Same
Wow.
story, just printed in different languages. We do
That
struggle.
one.
We do struggle with different languages, but as long as we have the
Mhm.
character sets, we can go ahead
Yeah.
and do that.
That one would be special. I'm
It is
I'm
very
I'm
special.
sure.
Yes.
Okay. Um, how do I know if I'm looking at a marker that you guys made it?
That's a good one. So there's a couple of real key features, and one of them is the octagonal post. If you look at the post, it has an octagonal shape to it.
Yeah.
That's not true in every state, but I would say 80% of historical markers that Sewah manufactured have our signature eight-sided. The other is our leather textured background. If you look into the background, it has a leathery kind of
Yeah.
texture to it. And really all that is we use masonite that if you remember back in the 70s, the bathrooms used to make the showers out of these textured masonite because the water resistant.
Yeah.
Well, we just implemented that as our background back
Okay.
decades ago. So we that's a signature, signature
Okay.
for sure.
Well,
The
that's
other
great.
would be two other features that really are prominent is our character font is can't be found anywhere in like Word or any kind of font library because there is no such thing as a CWA font. Mr.
Okay.
Hawes actually held a contest back in the 20s and he invited all of these character set artists to deliver what they considered their representation of a good font to be able to use on his markers. So he actually had a contest and brought them all in. And I think they had a picnic deal here in Marietta. And he chose through the submissions the ones that he liked. And then we created the molds and have used those ever since.
Wow.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
really
this
neat.
is incredible.
It is. It's really close to a Caslin. It's kind of like a knockoff of the Caslin and Times New Roman. It's in between.
Okay.
I wish I would have brought a couple of the letters in here. I may actually have a couple in my desk. But the ones that are really interesting are the G's, the Y's, and the F's. And the lowercase f's are strange. But the one that's the wildest is the G. Most G's in our language or in most fonts, they're that what they call that triple stack. It's kind of like a squiggly.
Uh-huh.
Ours look like a P, almost like a P. They don't have that crazy squiggle. So
Yeah.
you kind of see in that.
Okay. That's fascinating. One of the things I've always loved working in business and industry and academia is you think you know something about a particular industry or
Right.
business, and then when you slow down and look at it, it is fascinating. All the myriad of things that are a part of it that we just never think about. So
Right.
that's
Right.
great to know. I'm gonna be paying attention more so even now than
Yeah.
well, there's a
Some of the things
CWA
we're
sign,
talking
and I know why.
Yeah, some of the things we're talking about are just going to jump out at you and your listeners as well, and you'll be out looking for markers, and you go, well, that one doesn't have the octagonal post, but it has the crazy G and the other things with the leather
Yeah,
textured. Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome. Okay. Um, well, I watched the segment about your show on Barnwood Builders, and I watched the process. I'm a process guy, so I
right.
love watching that process. Um, what kind of special skills do your people have?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the way that you kind of have to back up and think about it, we're really kind of five separate companies all slammed together because this sequential process requires each department to have its own set of skills. The typesetting department, you need to be a reader. You need to like to
Oh
read.
yeah,
You need
yeah,
to understand,
yeah.
basic grammar. And you have to have the ability. I always ask people when I'm interviewing, do you like to do puzzles? And if they say, I absolutely love puzzles, I could sit down and do crossword puzzles or build puzzles all day.
Okay,
I'm like, this is your fit, right? Because you're assembling letters, you're gluing them down. Now, when we go into the foundry, that skill set is more like a laborer, more,
yeah,
we find that construction guys and honestly, concrete guys do really well just because it's very similar to how you're pouring concrete or how
okay.
you're doing something on a
I
construction.
can see that. Uh-huh.
Our finishing department is more grinders, metal workers. They're more tool guys that understand kind of how to, weld, grind, and manipulate metal to get it to the condition that we want it in. And then you jump into the paint world. Now you're artist and
Yeah.
people who like to paint. We actually have two of our painters came from Fenton's Art Glass, which is another very crafty business that's
Okay.
no longer in existence today, but
I can see the tie-in between the glass. Yeah. Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. So we were lucky enough to have a couple of art glass decorators who are actually decorating or gilding is what we call our markers in our paint department. So that's been the recruiting and retention of good quality skilled workers is probably the biggest challenge
Yeah.
facing not only Sewah Studios, but probably every hands-on, you know, crafty company, because once you find someone that has the capability, do they have the motivation? Are they the
Okay.
right fit? So
Yeah.
that's probably one of our toughest needles to thread is getting the right people in place.
Yeah. I've worked with companies before that there are no entry level skills. You come with skills.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, there may be parts that I can train you up on local processes or something,
Right.
but you're going to have some skills.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
So,
agree. I would agree.
well, you see it in the work, and I mean that as I watched the segment, I watched the artist, the particular lady, as she was hand painting
It's
those
amazing.
kinds of things on there. Hey,
It's amazing.
I touched into that just a little bit a couple of years ago. A friend of mine owns a barbecue restaurant, and he had an old um, cast iron park bench that
Okay.
he had leaning against a tree. Danny Lofton, Fat Boys Barbecue. Okay, I got the commercial in. But anyway, Danny's a friend of mine, and he's always doing public service things. And I saw that, and I said, you know what? I'm going to fix that for Danny. I'm going to restore that old bench for him. I like to restore furniture and stuff.
Sure.
So I went to him. I said, Danny, one important thing. The back of it had an image, cast iron image of two pigs wallowing in a little mud hole with some flowers around.
Oh yeah, I
And
mean,
I said, Danny, can I have that? And now my plan was I'm going to restore it and give it to him.
sure.
And he said, no, my sister-in-law found that. And it's kind of special to me. I said, okay, Danny, here's what I want to do. And, and he said, oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to do that. So I went out there with him and we looked at it and I asked him, what would you like? And he said, oh, I don't know, just clean it up, paint it black, and that'll do it. I go, oh, no, buddy. And so my wife and I, we cleaned it up, restored the wood and everything. But those
Nice.
pigs, we painted in the color of the pigs, and I had to experiment with different colors to get
Yeah,
it
I'm
just the
sure.
right tech color, and painted the flowers and the cattails and all
Oh
that.
yeah.
So I understand the process your artist went through to have to
Oh yeah.
labor and it turned out beautiful. I'll send you a picture
Wonderful.
later. But
Oh, that I would
anyway,
love to see that. That would be
and
wonderful.
I got tickled at Danny because when I brought it to him, I covered it in a tarp and he was in the restaurant and I said, Danny, I got that old bench for you. Come on out and look at it. You know how sometimes you're getting ready to say something that just kind of automatic, I thought he was thinking in his mind, he was going to say, oh, how nice that is. Well, as he lifted the cover off, he goes, oh, dang, look at that.
Well, good for you.
It turned out real well. He has it in his restaurant sitting over in the corner. So
Oh, that's
anyway,
great. I
I'm
bet
sorry,
everybody
I
enjoys it.
digress on that.
That's a good story.
I, that's the only time I've ever done something that intricate, and
Yeah,
so I understand the challenge of hand painting. That's kind
sure.
of where
Yeah.
I'm. Brad, I've taken up a lot of your time. Thank you. This has been fascinating. I don't want to cut you short. Is there anything else you want to add to any of
No,
this?
just that thank you so much for the audience and everybody out there that is just enjoying our work. This is not about, just me and my family. This is about the workers here that pour their time into it. Not only the workers that are here today, but just the generations of workers
Yeah,
that have worked here in the past.
yeah,
This is something bigger than life. I'm so proud to be a part of it. I never thought when I was a kid coming up, running around this plant, hiding stools away from the guys and stuff, that I would actually be here leading it.
yeah,
But after 22 years sitting at the helm, I couldn't be prouder, to
yeah.
come in every day. It's just
Well,
amazing.
as an outsider looking in, watching the people, especially in that segment, it seemed like a great team. How many folks did you have employed with you? I'm sorry.
We this time last year we had 24 and we're up to 30 now. So
Okay.
I think 30 is about as much as I can take.
Yeah. But everybody's focused in their area, and there's got to be a sense of satisfaction when they see that thing, all of it come together.
It is.
Uh,
It is.
uh,
And when you sit here in the plant and you've got 30 or 40 of them and they're beautiful and they're all around you, they just don't pop until we put them out on the location. When they actually hit their location and our customers and the state constituents send pictures, it's like a light bulb turns on and
yeah.
they're so glorious and they're so pretty. We're just
Yeah.
absolutely proud.
And that's neat. They're not only telling the history and preserving the history, but they enhance our
Absolutely.
environment as well.
Absolutely. And I did want to do a little sales pitch here for
Sure.
William Pomeroy Foundation. William G. Pomeroy. If you go look that up, they're actually sponsoring markers for anyone. They have about 10 different marker programs that they're basically fully funding markers for communities. So you
Okay.
can you can go to their website, and if some marker fits the need, I think one of the markers that I like the best that just that hits it is Hungry for History. And
Okay.
it's neat little stories that talk about where certain foods came from, like salt potatoes. Where did that, what's the story behind that? How about the pepperoni roll? Or all of these just really neat stories that people that maybe viewers that you have something in, in their diet, or they know that this is a weird thing that we need to potentially get credit for this. Look up William Pomeroy, apply for the grant. They'll fully fund them, and it's just a wonderful partnership. We've been going about 7 years strong with them, and we love to just push their business out and
Okay.
grow that program because it
Yeah.
really is doing wonderful things for the communities.
Well, I did visit their site, as a matter of fact, and sent them an email. I'd love to have them as a guest on the podcast as well.
That
I
that
think
would
they
be
have
great.
something.
Bill is a
Yeah.
wonderful man, and his passion for history and preserving history it's beyond anyone I've ever seen. I mean, it
Yeah.
is really amazing how the work that they're doing.
So many people think that history is such a dry subject, dates and names,
Yeah.
but it's not. And our nation has such a rich heritage
Oh my
to it. And
gosh.
that's what you guys, as well as some of these others, are helping to do.
Absolutely.
That's why I love
Absolutely.
learning the story behind the story.
Absolutely.
Um, it's just fascinating, some of the things that you find. Hungry for history. I like that. I'm going to check that
Yeah.
out. All right. Brad, thank you. Seriously, thank you. I've
Okay, Dave, it
enjoyed
was a
speaking with
pleasure.
you.
I really enjoyed sitting with your visitor or with your viewers, and I hope that this, hits the nail on what you're trying to achieve here. And
It
if you
does.
have any follow-up questions, or if anybody's in the Marietta area, we would love to share our process, and you're welcome to let us know you're in town and we'll schedule a
Yeah.
visit.
Well, friends, there you have it. A story behind the story from America's historical signs and markers. A little bit of a unique story because we're talking to Bradford, and he is the company that's responsible for manufacturing so many of these. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to subscribe and continue listening as we bring more episodes about the rich heritage of our great nation. Please share this podcast with others. If you have interesting stories about historical signs and markers, email me at americanhistoricalmarkers@gmail.com. That's americanhistoricalmarkers@gmail.com. Maybe your story behind the story will be featured. I'm your host, Dave Layton. Thank you for listening, and safe travels.